All right, so we're going to talk first about what edge looping is. And edge looping is essentially the edge. Edge looping is essentially the edge moving around an object, and it's stopping when it doesn't know where to go. So you saw me double click this, and this basically selects the edge loop that goes all the way around the box. However, if I double click the edge on the corner, it doesn't know which way to go. So it doesn't know to go here, and it doesn't know to go here. I can do the same thing in face mode and just double click the next object and it'll loop around the object, and it'll do it in either direction because these edge loops are complete all the way around. The other thing is I can redirect this. So all I've done was basically created a cut geometry and then remove the polygons. So if I click on this edge loop here and double click on this, you can see that it still creates the edge loop, but what happens is it stops here because it doesn't know. It runs into two triangles, and that's the last polygon in the group. Now it looks like it's connecting to the other side, but in all reality it's not. And I can click on this here and this piece, but it will only stop on this polygon group because it's isolated. Now if I go over here, you'll notice that I've cut this a little differently. Ignore the n-gons. But if I click this and if I click this, you'll notice that it went down here and all the way around, and then it went and turned and it went all the way around too. So you'll see it end there. And that's just another form of edge looping. Now again, over here, I've done something a little bit differently and redirected the edge loops in a different manner. So I can click this and it'll create the edge loop in this manner, but if I create this, you'll notice that it created the edge loop in a different manner. Okay, so it's all about what direction of the polygons that you're selecting and which way they're going. So they can go in multiple different directions at once. It's just a matter of controlling which direction they go in. Edge looping is also maintained for creating geometry and having that geometry be controlled on a subdividing surface. Now, a subdivisional surface is when you add more geometry to your mesh. So in this case, this simple box polygon, if I add a turbo smooth to it, it basically creates a subdivisional surface. If I add more subdivisions, more iterations, this surface becomes smoother and smoother, but it no longer represents a box at all. And so with that idea in mind, our idea is to basically create a subdividing surface, and the edges, the edge loops per se, are there for reinforcement. For example, if I subdivide this, so if I'm using the subdivision displacement here and I'm using several iterations, you can see that it's smoothed around this box, and I can show you the geometry here, subset. So that's the original geometry, and then that's the geometry subset. So this is what it's basically creating. Now, if I add a loop, say right here, to reinforce that edge, basically it means that the average between that edge is now this wide. So it's going to create an edge that is structurally a more defined area. And so controlling our edge loops, so if I grab this edge loop and I scale it downward, right, it's just sharpening that edge. And the sharper those edges are, the more likely is that edge will get a harder form. Okay, and that's what edge looping is in any type of mesh creation. So for example, even if I grab this top here and subdivide this down like this, and then I bring that up and extrude that, you can see that these edges are basically averaging out. And the edge loop, if I add an edge loop in here, say I add an edge loop on top here, it will basically create a rounded form for that edge loop. Now, I can also take that edge loop and redefine how that sticks out. And so if I want more edges, or if I want like harder surfaces, I have to put more reinforcements into edge looping. And that's basically what edge looping is. Now, if I go back to the original box, I really haven't changed much, but I've added reinforced edge loops to a lot of things. So when I do subdivide here, it's basically holding that edge. And the next reason we use edge looping is to reinforce animation. And so if you look here, the edge looping goes in the direction of the joint manipulation, or it goes in the direction of the mouth or eyes or mouth nose section. And there's several different aspects of that online. And so as you move that, even though this is hyper exaggerated and stretched, the stretching allows for you to basically build the same kind of concept of reinforcing the edges for animation. Here's a quick map of how to create edge loops by Nico Michaela, and this is a phase neural map from Pixel Scholar. Even though these are super old, they still are very valid resources and are great things to use for a mapping of edge looping for the body and face. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions or if you need some help.